Oh, hey there. It's Robby Rowe, the Robby Rowe Show Baseball Podcast, Season 9, Episode 2. I sat down with Chris Harms, a.k.a. Harmless Content, to unpack his entire post-surgery return to throw.
Have your attention.
Your boy Heater.
Now listening to
Clear the mechanism.
The Robby Rowe Show.
Okay, so yeah, like I said, I'm going to sit down with Chris Harms, a.k.a. Harmless Content, my guy, to unpack his entire post-surgery. He got the brace and repair, not the full reconstructive ulnar collateral ligament surgery, a.k.a. Tommy John. But it's a really cool episode. We actually just recorded it to test out a makeshift studio setup that we have back at the training lab. So it's a lot of funny kind of messing around. And then I was honestly like halfway through with the episode. We were just sitting there talking before we got to training and just testing out this setup. And next thing you know, I'm like, frick, this is a good episode. And I think a lot of people can benefit from stuff like this because I do get a lot of questions pertaining to return to throwing after an injury, after a surgery. I have a lot of experience in that field, being somebody that has had to go through those types of experiences, you know, during in season. 2015, sorry, that's a lie. 2016, I had a microscopic surgery on my elbow to remove bone spurs. 2018, I had a full latissimus dorsi reconstructive surgery. I don't know what the official terminology is for that surgery, but Dr. Romeo out of New York did a lat surgery on me, 2018. That was an absolute beast of a surgery. I have a ton of episodes on that. I'll link in the show notes. And then in 2017, I got hit in the face with a comebacker, broke my nose, deviated septum, and then I had to do a full like return to throw from that. That was interesting. But yeah, this stuff is super prevalent in today's day and age, obviously, with the amount of injuries I think we're seeing due to we won't even get into that. Why is everyone getting hurt? Blah, blah, blah. No, we won't do that. But it's a really interesting subject. I've done a few podcast episodes on it already. One specifically sticks out. Actually, two specifically stick out. One, and again, I'll link these in the show notes for you guys to go check them out. But I did a three-way episode with myself, Dr. Heenan, and Alan Jaeger. And that episode link will be in the show notes. And then I did another episode with Randy Sullivan of the Florida Baseball Ranch, and we talked for a good bit about very similar stuff. And it's really, really, really interesting to see how it's slowly but surely evolving, you know. So sit back, relax. Sorry you got to hear my voice. That'll be it for me. Let's get to the episode. Check out the show notes for links. I'll include updated links from winter ball breakdowns. I'm currently in Puerto Rico recording this pre-roll. This episode that we recorded was from like a month or two ago. So we'll have to sit down again. If you guys are interested in following Harmless's journey coming back from brace and repair surgery, he's posting some stuff on his social media. I'll include that in the show notes. But we'll have to sit down and do another episode. I will include the link to my question platform in the show notes, therobbyrowshow.com/ask, if you guys want to reach out. Love you. God bless. Enjoy this episode of myself and Harmless talking about his return to throwing post-surgery. All right. Enjoy. Dude, it's crazy how much of a difference how much a pop filter makes when you're podding. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about your rehab? What do you think's been the hardest part about your return to throw, brace and repair?
I know it's kind of hard to pick out a specific single thing because I feel like, not that it's been easy, but I feel like we've had a relatively easy
in comparison to other freaking return to throws. Dude, yours has been so smooth sailing.
Yeah, from what I've heard.
So out of all the smooth sailing though, what's been like the most difficult part?
The most difficult part was probably in the beginning when I just had nothing to do.
Oh, and you couldn't
couldn't do anything.
Yeah. I'd say that's like the most difficult part of the rehab process in general.
Yeah. But are you saying more like throwing rehab?
Yeah. Say more like the return to throw itself, as opposed to like the process in which after you get surgery and there's that downtime, because that's like super mentally tough I'm talking more so like physically.
I would say somewhere in that, like, not quite the beginning, but you're starting to put a little bit behind the ball, but you can't put too much, but you are starting to put it, so you're like starting to lengthen it out. You're starting to get past like 120, but so like now you're starting to do things where it comes out a little hot because like unintentionally, and then but you can't quite go much more than that. That was pretty tough.
Yeah, the monitoring of like the actual intent behind the throw, not knowing because you haven't really thrown much in the past year.
Right. Yeah. And then having to tell myself to be like, hey, you got to be 50%.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what 50% is.
Right.
It's been a while.
Well, when you have a new elbow, like you essentially have, or anytime when you take a lot of time off from throwing, your whole perception of your intent levels, change.
Right.
And it's so tough, too, because I don't really like the percentage of intent. And that's why I think Dean Jackson does such a good job with what he's posted on social media, because we talked about that post the other day about radaring. And like, if we could do the process all over again with you, I think that is one thing that I might change, is literally from day one, like throw the radar gun up. And the only thing that's tricky as somebody that's overseeing your throwing is, I know how I am, dude, when I see a radar gun, like, there's a little bit more coming out, because you don't want to, you don't want to see these numbers, especially with you. I would say with you was extremely like difficult, knowing that your one main goal, return to throwing, was to throw hard. So it's like you're training this passive intent, this passive approach in your throwing mechanics from an early point, but that's kind of what you have to do. Did you feel like in the beginning, when did you start throwing? So the surgery date was when?
November 30th.
And then the first day of throwing was...
Dang, it's been like 11 months.
It's crazy, right? Like when you look back at it, like your freaking year anniversary of surgery date's coming up. And we always talk about this brace and repair being like quick, right? We saw like how quickly you came back throwing. Like, I remember when we first long tossed, it was like, dang, dude, you're already long tossing.
Yeah.
But like, obviously the, time moves way too fast and things happen. And it wasn't like you were going to a specific team on a specific date. So it was like we had a little bit more free range.
Even in the PT portion, they like added an extra month, or like they just kind of
Did they say if you did the same PT as a post Tommy John, full reconstructive ulnar collateral ligament?
No.
It was like that was different, right?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
for brace and repair.
Yeah. So what was the day you first threw? I know I have the freaking YouTube
It was
edit.
like March. I don't know. I was to say, but maybe like March 13th or something.
Yeah.
Is that a Friday?
I'm like trying to think of the thumbnail in my head because I made it a very, very below average thumbnail. And I just said like first day back throwing.
That's funny.
And I think I did a thing on there with the text. Guys listening to this, I wish we had video, because Harmless is dry scooping proven 4 workout, P4 workout, discount code Robby. So dang, dude, I didn't even realize that we're almost at a year. We're literally almost at a freaking year. Now he's shaking it in his mouth. Do an ASMR for the P4. Do the shakeage in the mouthage so you can, Dude, you should put your headphones on and do that. Listen to it. Oh, so the headphones rattle? Yeah. You know what I wonder if what we could do on this pod track is, so these are TRRS, which is the 3 things on the aux deal, right? And that's for headphone only, like microphones, if they're usually a TRS, which is the 2. But I was wondering if we could put like ear pods in here instead of headphones. But ear pods usually have a microphone in them too. So sometimes I think there's sound like disruption. But it'd be nice to have just ear pods, right? Like wouldn't shift on your head.
Yeah.
And like, I know the other day when we podded for like an hour,
Yeah.
dude, like I was starting to sweat in my ears. It was kind of weird.
The only thing is, do they have, I don't think they would have talkback,
No.
which is so nice. Because even on my computer, like playing video games, my old setup,
Yeah.
I had talkback,
Yeah.
but this setup, I don't have talkback, and it bugs me
Why don't you have talkback?
because I need a cable. I need a cable to plug into the headset. Yeah, I need a cable for that talkback thing specifically or something like that.
Everyone listening is just like, wait, I clicked this because I wanted to learn about freaking rehab throwing, not freaking what cable you need to get talkback in your headphones when you're gaming, nerds. So
Take a little another quarter.
you're going to scoop in a quart?
Dude, we did a scoop and almost a half the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I never do a full scoop of that. I don't know why. And here, I lied. I do know why. Honestly, the reason why I started doing the half scoop is because I couldn't fit a full scoop in my mouth when I dry scooped it because it would come out my nose. You have minimal wiggle room in there if you have a full scoopage in. If you have a half scoop, you have some wiggle room. Like nothing's really coming out the nose, P.
Dude, it gets tough when it like it starts to get like in your gums right there, and you're like, I can't quite shake.
Wait
here,
a sec,
so
should I just leave this? I don't think I've done a dry scoop since that vlog in Puerto Rico. Do you remember that clip? I think you made a 9x16. I don't think I've done a full dry scoop since then. You know what we should do?
What?
We should double back on this podcast episode with context in front of us and like map out like, okay, the surgery was this date and then the first day of throwing was this date. And then we have all the content. We could be like, all right, the first time I went 120 was this date, first day, you know? And I would assume to piggyback off what you said earlier with like the feet and the intent, I would say it's probably after you get past 90 approaching 120 feet in throwing program would be like your most difficult monitoring, right? Because it's like, you know that you don't need a whole lot to get there,
Right.
but you don't want to be like super under the ball either and like push. You know what we could do is look back at that footage too and be like, was that where the elbow spiral breakdown started occurring?
Yeah, no, you can
Yeah.
you can probably tell.
And this was my first time too, like overseeing someone. Like obviously I've had some return to throwing in my career, but it was the first time overseeing, and I honestly like learned a lot. And I think certain things that I would implement differently if we could do it again, or if this situation, God forbid, does occur again. Like I said earlier with the radaring, just to give you a pretty good idea of like quantifying miles per hour pertaining to your intent levels, and the I would say more drill progressions and throw variations early. You know what I'm saying? Because I think when we started throwing, like you were throwing plyos before you threw a baseball, but even in your catch plays when you started throwing a baseball, it was basically just like throwing. And I think you did one edit that was like throwing like an athlete, you know? But I think that's something that happens probably across the board with guys coming back from a surgery like that is they get real pushy.
Yeah.
Right? Like they get pushy when they get to a certain feat, knowing like they're supposed to control their intent, don't throw it hard, and like all this stuff, but you still got to freaking hit the partner in the chest, you know?
Yeah.
Was that speaking of hitting the partner in the chest, did you have any mental restrictions coming back? Like, I remember my first elbow surgery, I was like, I don't know if I can hit this guy in the chest, like after like 60 feet.
Yeah.
It was weird.
I'd say no, because I actually took inventory of every time anybody said anything to me about any type of return to throwing, no matter if it was your elbow surgery or Danny's elbow surgery or anything. And I actually like took the words to heart. It was like, okay, like they've been through it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like if I want to be successful and kind of have some peace of mind going into this and not like shoot myself in the foot, then I truly need to not have any restrictions. So I just like went in it with like, I have a new elbow and there's nothing that's going to prevent this rehab from happening. Like it's just it's going to work out. No matter what, you know?
And I think that's a shift. All right. First of all, you just said took inventory mentally, and that was, you're made for this podcast. I think.
You're in.
Second of all, I would say that was something that hindered my first surgery, coming back elbow, because my mind believed that my elbow was effed, and even a surgery, right? Like it was a scope procedure, which is different than what you had, but it was like, no, my mind still thinks that my elbow's F.
Right.
Even if I had the surgery to clear it. And I think when I had the lat surgery, that was kind of the shift in mindset too. And I was a little bit older, and kudos to you for taking inventory. But it was more of a mental conviction. Like, no, like the surgery was, now it's healed, right? Like just because I had surgery, the surgery worked, right? Like it's not like, oh, the surgery, it's super prone now to blow up again. So I think my mindset approaching my throwing from lat surgery just influenced more smooth sailing as I got into my return to throw. Because like I said, when I had the elbow surgery and I noticed that there was a physical lack of elbow extension and flexion, I was like, now it was effing with my mind, and like, okay, like don't piss that off when I throw.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I was saying the other day. Like I kind of had to learn how to rethrow, like internally rotate shoulder earlier. Were there any throwing sessions that you had where you didn't feel as if your elbow was like ready to take on the load that particular throwing session accompanied?
I think if I truly believed that, I would have said something like, hey, shut it down.
But I'm saying like mentally, right? Like there's always like those times where like physically you might feel something, but mentally you're like, no, don't look anything into it, right? Like it's not a big deal. I think there was one conversation we had where you were like, oh, I was long tossing, and then like something happened. It wasn't feeling good, or it was feeling tight, and then something happened, and maybe it popped, maybe something happened where you were just like, all right, now it's free.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would say it's gotten physically where it's been like, oh, it's barking a little bit, but I know it's a part of this. Like it's stress adaptation or whatever.
Yeah.
Like not to like, I know we joke around about that a lot, but
but it's true.
It is. No, yeah.
It's,
like
especially if you've never dealt with it, right?
Yeah.
But that's what we were talking about too with you went like a year, maybe even year and change throwing with a torn UCL. So like your pain tolerance probably like from like the mental side of it got super hardened.
Right.
And that was what I was worried about when you came back, was like, dang, this guy's going to have no mental kind of threshold for what like pain and what soreness is. That's the biggest difficulty I would say in pertaining to monitoring your workload is like, what is the difference between like, it's just sore because I'm throwing for the first time in a while and it's a new thing, or is it pain, like something needs to be like worked out? You know, that's, at least for me, I would say in all of my surgery experiences, that's where it was like really tough, you know, because obviously the lat surgery, working with Dr. Heendog, you can email me to save $50 on your remote programming with ATP. I would say like, it was so nice having him, because even if there was soreness, it was like, it wasn't a red flag, but it was like, oh, let's just work it out. And then it was gone. Like us, we weren't really like hands-on with manual therapy. So
right. It was just kind of give it a day or two. Well, now that we've kind of now that we're out of the window of like rehab, and like return to throwing,
you're fully cleared, right?
Yeah. Would you say this is your first time like fully overseeing? Or obvious,
it's crazy how different it sounds when your voice goes away from the mic in comparison to up here.
Note to people on the podcast,
right?
Don't itch your butt cheek.
Don't itch your butt cheek. I'm just wondering when the freaking tinglies are gonna hit for you, bud.
They've already hit.
Really?
Yeah,
never go full scoop. Watermelon discount code, Robby.
Did you enjoy, if this is potentially your first full overseeing of somebody's return to throw, did you enjoy it?
Oh wow, you're asking me.
Yeah.
Oh, you're getting in host mode.
Well, I was actually curious.
Can't have two alphas.
I was actually just curious.
Listen,
about like.
There's one podcaster here.
I was just curious.
I actually really like podcasts. Listening to podcasts that like it's not a one interviewing another. It's like they're just both talking and asking questions. That's super good. So way to throw that in. This is your first official podcast? Like I'm probably gonna air this one.
Oh,
for those of you guys listening to this, we set the podcast up in the backyard in our home in California, and we've been doing pods, but like we're not going to release any of them because it's, just joking around, whatnot. This one's actually kind of like an official deal, and I'm thinking that I just go inside as you're training, and
well, you said we should
double
back.
Well, I want to double back and just do like a video.
No, I do too.
Full thing. Like, that'd be sick.
If we're going to do the one where we talk about rehab and just go back and forth about the whole process, because we technically have 11 months of it to go through in our heads.
Yeah. And you kind of did a full like Tommy John rehab too, in the sense of like when we touched the mound and when we started really throwing hard. Yeah.
But it'd be sick going back through old footage and having, I'm not trying to push the green screen thing. I'm just saying you could, in the middle of your video, just have it like popped up in the background. Like, oh, this is literally
I'll tell you what,
324.
I'll tell you what, dude, we have the green screen in the lab. And let's just be honest with ourselves. We're not going to do the things that we originally like sought out to do with the green screen in the lab behind the aeroform mound. Guys listening, we were cooking up some ideas that aren't going to come into fruition. So we could literally take that green screen and put it around here.
I'd be down. Also, I did test it, and the reason why we can't do it also is because the turf on the ground, it gets green and green. Different shades
What
of
if
green.
you just what if you just cropped it?
Then you'd have a weird aspect ratio because it's a cropped video.
Right, but what if you just like did a opacity mask around the mound, and then with the green screen in the background, and then just put that on another layer in front of like just a black screen.
Like
again, everyone listening to this is like, wait a second, are we getting a tutorial in the Premiere
you guys
Pro
might want to take some
timeline?
notes. We're giving you,
Dude, we could 100% do some freaking Premiere Pro podcast.
Oh yeah,
that's hard to say. Try it.
Premiere Pro.
It's super
Premiere
hard
Pro
to
podcast.
say. Everyone listening to this right now, say it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Premiere Pro podcast. Okay. Yeah. You're welcome.
All right, guys.
Okay, he's going handheld. All right.
To the key phrase.
We're both going handheld. How we doing? Now this is it. When I sit back in this chair, it's a different animal.
Yeah,
what was the one piece of encouragement you would have for anyone that maybe, I like those socks.
Thank you.
If anyone asks you like, hey, what are your biggest pieces of advice for doing like a brace and repair specific surgery, kind of things to expect moving forward? If someone were to ask you that question, like, hey man, what can I expect if I plan to see this through? I'm going to do a full brace and repair, and then obviously attacking the throwing program and PT and stuff. I know it's such a broad question, but like certain things that Danny or I said to you, maybe that stuck. Remember you said you were taking inventory?
Right.
Like what were some of those things that stuck that maybe gave you a sense of internal confidence approaching your situation?
I think part of the internal confidence component comes from the what I was doing before the surgery, during the surgery, or not, I guess during, but like when surgery time was there.
During the surgery, when I was passed out,
I was in astral form.
I'll tell you what, all right?
Eating ribeyes.
I stole a sling ring, and I learned how to project myself.
But doing that, and then hearing like Danny's reassurance of like, hey, there's gonna be certain points in your throwing, it's gonna kind of suck, but that's like normal. So if like you feel a little something, it's like that. Just expect that. That's gonna happen. You just had surgery. Blah blah blah. Don't get down, or like don't worry about it. And then
because that can F you up like for just like quality of life. Like constantly being mentally attentive to like all of these freaking feelings and like, oh man, am I never gonna come back? Is it never gonna heal? Am I doing this right? Am I doing it wrong? And that's stress, dude.
I'd be honest. I would tell someone, especially if they're someone who's like extremely cerebral, but I would say turn off your brain for certain parts of like throwing. Yeah, like you're gonna be way too attentive.
Like develop a framework.
Yeah,
and then like get it on paper.
Yeah,
and then literally just this goes off and just attack. And then obviously you reassess too, right? Like weeks after weeks, like reassess, reevaluate, like is what I'm doing working? Is it moving me in the right direction mentally and physically and emotionally? If it's not, then you reassess and then you turn the brain on again and then you go from there.
Right.
But I think you and I, we did a really good job with just like having a pretty good framework to work towards. But like I said, I would change a little bit, I think, moving forward. So for those of you guys that are listening, there was what'd be interesting too is going back on video before your surgery to see if that that elbow spiral disconnection type pushiness, mechanical inefficiency was occurring then, and then if it translated to when you started throwing again after surgery. Do you pretty much know that answer? Like, was the disconnection, and again, you guys listening, you're not going to be able to see it. I'm sure there's going to be videos somewhere, but were you able to see that, like, when you were editing your live ABs from New York? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it comes from anytime I want to, if it feels like it comes from anytime I'm trying to go over 90 is like when that pop will come back, or for the surgery, when I was going high intent, knowing that, like, not that 90 was going to come easy, but like knowing 90 wasn't just like the goal. Yeah. So like, I know I'm going to try to, and intense rising, so now my freaking elbow essentially is.
Yeah, which is interesting though, because like that's, in my opinion, and this is why we've changed it, but that's a very mechanically inefficient movement for amplifying power output.
But that's all I've known is just like try and get down, pull down on the ball. That's just how I've thrown for a while. Yeah. Versus I haven't explored throwing like a third baseman since high school because I haven't been able to.
That could be a whole nother podcast segment on how like throwing like a pitcher could actually F you up as a pitcher.
Right.
So,
but going back to what you said about the whole like framework and going into the surgery and like telling people what you would look out for. Advice. I would say what made it easy, not
easier.
Yeah, what made it easier was not to kind of fluff you here as well.
Come on now.
I had the pre and kind of what I was doing on my own to give me peace of mind that I'm going about this the right way. That was like cleaning up my diet and like making sure that in this time, like my recovery is supposed to be better and I'm going to take it a lot more serious. So, you know, I'm checking that box. So now I don't have to, if something bad happens, then at least I can be like, well, I tried, or like, you know, I did what I could. Then
it wasn't something not related to baseball that took you away from it.
And then add on the layer of, you know, gaining the advice from like people like yourself, Danny, and then people who like reached out who had surgery before. Right. And then also knowing like you were going to oversee it.
Yeah. And you
gave me a lot of peace of mind.
Right.
Of like, now I don't have to, not only do I have to not stress about finding someone to help me oversee this whole thing, but I don't have to worry about some schmuck. Some schmuck who's like trying to make it personal or like do their own thing or like whatever. We're pretty open as far as like, this is what I got. What do you think? And then you let me know. And then you're always open. You always keep an open line of communication. But we also, you keep an open line of communication for changes and things that I want in it. But we do very much have like a soft framework that it can always be tweaked. Or like we can sprinkle this.
Nothing's like set in stone. And I think that's the freedom that a return to throwing program needs, you know?
Right.
Like we weren't going to just look at the pieces of paper and be like, okay, we have to do this today. And if we don't, we're never going to be able to throw a baseball again. Like, no, we look at it and be like, all right, where we're at mentally, physically. Because a lot of the rehab return to throw too, like obviously there's so many fine lines within this, and maybe hopefully people listening don't take this the wrong way, but you do need to find a sense of like peace and joy in the task of throwing. And I know for me, I don't do well in restriction. So when it was like I had to do what was on the paper was telling me like essentially how my arm and body felt, how my arm, body, mind felt that day. Like, no, we're not going to do that. Like, you want 10 extra throws from a hand cross variation? Like, come on.
Right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I just think like once you solidify the goal and the movements leading up to that, I think that's where you did a really good job. And this is an encouragement for somebody listening that may or may not be going through this or have or will. Take the time after surgery, right? When you have no downtime, which is what we said earlier, probably the toughest mentally, you know, time of your whole entire process. Take that and grow. You're not going to be able to throw, and that's going to open up more opportunity for you to fixate your mind on something else, right? Like you diving into nutrition and what do I got to do to make my body feel really, really good? And that's something I did too in 2018 was like, okay, what are the layers of human optimization, right, that I can tackle that doesn't involve throwing itself? and it was like, okay, I got to clean up my nutrition. I got to make sure I'm sleeping. You know, that was probably something that you put a lot of attention to as well, like getting an Oura ring using Robby Row's discount. And that'll be in the show notes. And like tracking that too and being super mindful and attentive to that. And that's the addiction, right? Like that's the process we talk about, that when we look back at our careers, like the thing that sticks out is the diligency in the process. That's where you find the most joy.
Yeah.
Like you're about to, and I give you a whole lot of credit for like and that wasn't even something that like, I don't even think I like told you to do. It was just something that you did on your own, because you're like, if I want to take this serious and if I want to return better than I freaking, was before surgery, these are the steps I got to take.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And that makes or breaks somebody. Are you there's a price to pay to be great. Like you look yourself in the mirror and be like, am I going to pay that price?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Like it's not like, I'll pay some of it.
Right.
But like, I'm not going to pay I'm not going to sleep 9 hours a night. Like I got too many freaking Rocket League games to play.
Yeah.
So I would say that's a big testament to like the people that separate themselves, especially when you see rehab programs like that at a professional level.
Yeah. No, I agree. It was definitely before that. Before they opened my arm up, it was definitely kind of like, okay, get right with yourself, because this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
You agreed to it, and you made the choice. Also, let's go ahead and sprinkle in like, no team is paying for it.
Yeah.
Like if you're, like you're only wasting your time.
That's
and
true.
Others.
Do you think that gave you more motivation to like do it the right way though, knowing that you had to essentially pay for it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think to some degree, 100%.
Yeah, like it's an investment, dude.
Yeah.
I better
Not only that is like, it's on me. I made this choice. It's not like it would almost be easier, I would say, if like I was some high value guy. It's like, yeah, like,
oh, dude, and an organization held your hand the entire way. And that's another thing, honestly, that I would love to talk about too, is the fact that like you learn so much more about yourself when you go through these injuries when you're alone in comparison to like when somebody's holding your hand the entire time. That was the tough dynamic to navigate for myself, was like I wanted to obviously push you in the right direction. And like we talked about with the framework, like this is what I want to see from you, but I wasn't going to force you to be like, you got to do this, because I feel as if you just keep relying on my energy and my intellect to like guide you, then you're not gonna know when the time in which that like we depart from each other. Right. God forbid that ever happens. But if it does happen, like now and that's why I was, and again, I think it goes back to like my relationship with Dr. Heenan throughout my time in in Colorado and Omaha, dealing with my lat rehab. It was like, I told myself specifically, be attentive to all this, because it was something that I was passionate about and something I could 100% see myself enjoying from the other side, and now like, it's funny how the roles, we joke about this a lot, how the roles reverse, and now I am your Dr. Heenan, and I think there's so much value in that is having someone that knows what they're doing. And like you said earlier, not just someone from a medical field that knows what they're doing, but like medical and baseball related too, right? Having that, and then being attentive to like, all right, well, as soon as I'm attentive to what I need to do and how my body, arm, mind respond to these certain stimulus, like now I can take that information to learn more about myself, right? Now, as you move forward in your journey, it's like you're equipped now in the last year time frame with so much more information and knowledge pertaining to like your like Harmless. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that's so valuable, because now it's like I wrote your program on the whiteboard, which you're gonna actually like. It's a good sesh. But like you'd be able to see one of those things, maybe like A2, you're like, I'm not really feeling the overhead dumbbell press with trunk lateral tilt, right? Like maybe you're not feeling that. All right. You probably know now, like I just need to do another upper kind of press. I can do a freaking half kneeling, landmine press instead of that, right? Like just little things like that, I think go so long. Yeah.
I think honestly seeing you write workouts and then seeing how you go about them too, and like how you like,
it's not just guessing.
Yeah, you're going like, okay, so there's this movement, so I know he's gonna need this movement. It's an upper body day, or like it's a full body day. Boom, boom, boom.
It's full body Friday, boys. Hashtag that.
Friday.
Full body Friday.
That's why I did a scoop in a corner.
Well, let's just call it a half.
Did someone say half?
Speaking of that, Scoop, you ready to go work out?
Dude, I was kind of feeling this whole.
I was gonna say we could go forever.
Kind of on a burner.
Dude, as soon as I went handheld mic, the dynamic changed.
It sprinkles in a little
And
something.
I could see your energy just starting to slowly. Guys listening, he walked in here with like probably 1.2 on a scale to 10. 1.2 energy, and now you're at like a 7.6.
I was gonna ask, could you see my the puffiness in my eyes?
I saw a lot.
Puffiness.
I've seen it quite a bit these last few days too.
Because I'll be honest, I've been freaking wrecked in the recovery sphere.
What do you mean? Your readiness score was in the crownage.
I know, but I think I'm manipulating it.
It's a flaw, dude.
I think I'm manipulating it on accident because I'll wake up, dude. I don't know if I'm getting plantar pee, but just in my legs.
Gosh darn it.
But
we don't talk about that on this show. I know. This podcast is meant for only positivity, not plantar fasciitis.
But dude,
which a new video is coming out. Are you gonna? Is that video done? Because
no.
Josh told me if there was a way that he could see the video before being aired.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna send it to you guys.
Keep me posted on that.
Yeah.
And if you guys listening want to see a plantar fasciitis session with Dr. Heenan and myself, and lots of misery and tears and pain and agony,
but also a basketball highlight video.
Oh yeah, most importantly, I want 12 minutes of game footage in there. I want 2 minutes of needles going into my foot.
Steve, you got 30 seconds.
Okay, I'll get 30 seconds of needles going in my foot, and then 12 minutes of basketball.
No, I bet you 30 seconds of basketball foot.
We're gonna need more. We're gonna actually do a split screen. We're gonna do a half split screen, and then like one half, like, hey, if you guys are here, just like enjoy these highlights in the top right corner.
Yeah, dude,
me freaking walking around on one foot.
Dude, imagine this. Let me set the scene for potentially like next year. Let's say we just come out and we're both on that men's league team. You somehow convinced me, and it's a good showing for the Steeds.
That is the goal, by the way, for everyone listening to this. Is the goal is to get Harmless to come out for men's league next year. We didn't do it this year.
We get the green screen right here, and we're just breaking down game footage of the. I'm gonna need you to roll off the screen.
All right, you see that one, guys? That's a pivot. Okay. It's a triple threat. You can pass, dribble, or shoot. I'm going to take a hard jab, fake, crossover left, goes right. I'm usually a right driver, left pull-up guy, but I'm known to dabble and step back to the right side. That's good. All right, you got to work out.
Do I have to?
See, we just talked about your desire to be better, and now you got to show the audience.
You just went handheld and started leaning back, so that tells me one thing.
I know. Well, I for some reason, like, I prioritize posture over sound, and I don't know if that's a good thing for being a podcaster, but I will say what I don't like about the handheld is any movement. You guys hear that? Any movement, it's going on the DBs.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about the stand, but the posture of handheld, like being able to sit back in this chair right here, is freaking money. Dude, we have a good setup.
Mm-hmm.
We have to acknowledge that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like this dynamic with the training lab in the SAC arena to our left on a very beautiful sunny day here in Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
The training lab, the freaking Aeroform mound, the nets. Shout out Aeroform. Shout out Chamgol. I think it's Chamgol or Shamgol. CHAMGA. Or sorry, CHAMGOAL. Chamgol.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we should. Okay, well, we should definitely double back on this whole
I think we
thing.
should do a video segment on it.
Yeah.
Because if we had video integration, that would be next level.
Huge. And then also just looking around and seeing the amount of like beams and boards and stuff and the potential.
Dude, you could literally like hang a camera and like just boom.
You could literally hang a whole basically podcast studio.
I know.
Like you can have all the lighting you need.
I know. And I really like the ambient sound. So like I live right next to a freeway and like hearing the cars, hearing the birds like that.
Really? Yeah.
Like it's super just peaceful, right?
Uh-huh.
I think that's why I could sit here and just talk.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love talking, but like it's very peaceful.
I also like it too because it's has like an outside, but you're very much inside component.
Yeah. We'll have this. Oh, I got like 12 video requests to do a full tour of like the lab.
Actually?
And so like I've done multiple lab kind of video things, but I've never done one where it's like as soon as I step out that door, like, all right, now what do we got?
Right.
Because I could say, all right, that's the sauna, that's the freaking cold plunge pod, discount code Robby. I have a discount code now for the sauna, Creatrix Solutions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's discount code Robby with a Y. But like that turf area is for mobility. That's the sauna. That's the cold pod. All right, now once you step out here, Sac Arena, also workout, podcast table, Dad's lumber mill. Freaking,
You need anything made.
if you need anything made, including a 35-inch Roland, what was his bat company? Roland's Lumber. I think did I tell you the story about him taking a Christmas tree one year and making a bat out of it? It's in my room. I need to show you.
No, but that's the coolest
Bro,
thing
he made a bat out of a Christmas tree
that you guys had
and
used.
like
A Christmas tree that was
it was used.
Your-
yeah. It was our Christmas
That's
tree for like
funny.
1 year. And then like 4 days later it was a bat in my room. But he is he out here? No, he's not out here.
I think he's in the living room.
Yeah. But he did something like he coated it and it was like smooth and it was like Roland's Lumber something. And it was like a drop 1.5. Yeah. It could have been a
That's pretty sick.
What's the opposite of a drop 1? Like a plus 1? What's the baseball hitters lingo when they say a bat weighs more than its length? An up. What's the opposite of a drop? A jump? An elevate?
Elevate.
An elevator? Escalator?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, guys, he's scratching his eyes, so we got to go. He's got to go work out. I gotta go. See you guys. Thanks for listening to the Robby Row Show podcast. Word out. Bye.
No, yeah, we should definitely double back on that. I feel like we could kill that. I feel like we kind of accidentally did.
No, we did. You know what the move is too when you end podcasts like that? Don't hit the end record button until like we leave. Because then you get these ambient sounds and people are like, oh, wait, they're still saying something.
Yeah.
Is this like their true, authentic self?
Yeah.
Like, we didn't get that in the show.
Right.
Let's hear what they're like now.
Yeah. Oh, wait, the video's ended now.
They think we're going to go work out. Turn the freaking PlayStation on. Come on now.
No, but actually.
No, but seriously, it's a good workout. You'll enjoy this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you sumo the other day? Yeah. Or was it trap bar suitcase?
The other day.
Pretty sure the other day it was trap bar suitcase, right?